What is happening, guys? Cody Plays here, bringing you another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the brand new ban list that just dropped last night, and will be going into effect on June 30th for the ladder and stuff like that. But for those of you who play tournaments, this should probably be going into effect as soon as possible, like probably today. Some tournaments don't really abide by that, but most seem to nowadays. But anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this. I don't want to waste anyone's time. The first card, we have Metaverse going from 2 to 3. I'm pretty sure Metaverse went from 1 to 2 on the previous list when Terraforming got banned. That was during the stretch where I was taking a break from the game, so I don't remember the ban list exactly. But this being at 3 or 2 doesn't really matter. This is not a card that's going to be very popular. It's kind of rough in best of 1. Going second is very rough. It can be very good going second or going first, but mostly what this card was used for was to search Mystic Mine in the TCG and OCG. So, well, actually, okay, I'm not going to comment on the OCG because I didn't really know the OCG meta, but in the TCG, Metaverse was paired with like Mystic Mine, Mystic Mine control decks to be able to search this on your opponent's turn and to be able to like play on your turn and then set up the board that you want with the amount of monsters you want and so on and so forth, and like just set the board up how you wanted to, and then you could mine your opponent when it was necessary for you to do so. But that's not in this game. There might be some niche strategies that are able to use this, and if that's the case, honestly I think it's a good thing because there's not too many super toxic field spells in the game at the moment that are like Mystic Mine level. But anyways, moving on to the next thing, we have Branded Fusion going down from 3 to 2. Sorry if you can hear that in the background. There's some noise going on outside. There's some sirens, so apologize for that. Great timing, right? As soon as I start to record a video, this happens. But anyways, Branded Fusion. Why is this card going from 3 to 2? Obviously, it's for consistency reasons. Also, obviously, it's because well, this is, well, I was going to say it's because this is a UR, but that's actually a little bit out of the ordinary. Konami doesn't really seem to be hitting URs as much when they can hit other stuff, as we'll see in a little bit. So I'm kind of surprised they hit this over hitting something else. Now, to be fair, I don't know what that would have been. I wouldn't have been surprised to see them like hit something like Fusion Deployment, limit this to 1. That honestly seems kind of in line with what something Konami would do, like how they hit King of the Swamp, quote unquote, hit King of the Swamp to hit tier, last time. But this is the branded deck, post support and stuff like that. Obviously, they're not going to hit anything new direct, like they're not going to hit any, like they're not going to hit Cartesia. If they're going to hit something, they're going to hit like Fusion Deployment, right? So I'm kind of shocked they hit this card. Do I think it was necessary? No, probably not. Sorry, I'm spoiling stuff, my bad. This card going from 3 to 2 does change the deck's consistency slightly, but a lot of the versions of the deck are playing upwards of 50, 60 cards anyways. So why, like, is this really that big of a deal when decks are like playing such high card counts? Since it's so accessible in so many ways, you can send this to the graveyard like a million different ways to be able to get access to it. So how much does this really hurt consistency? That's pretty marginal. Honestly, what I think this is I think this is more of a saving face type move. People get frustrated by a deck being very popular and a deck being, fairly good. I'm not saying Branded's like the best deck or anything like that, because I don't think it's that. I think it's probably a tier 2 strategy, but that's what I ranked it on my tier list. I'm pretty sure it's what's ranked on the tier list here. But this deck is very popular on ladder already, and people get frustrated by that. It just is what it is. So I think that's the reason for this getting hit, not for actually logistic reasons or anything like that. I think it's solely for the fact that they see a lot of this on ladder, and they want to diversify ladder even more. But that's just my opinion. The next thing we got is Spright Jet. So Jet going down from 3 to 2. Obviously, this paired with the blue hit, the starter hit, is really starting to hit the consistency of Spright, and I'm all here for it. I think this deck is incredibly consistent going first, almost way too consistent going first. Going first, as far as meta relevant decks go, Spright is clearly the best deck in the game. its turn one is by far like the most oppressive turn one we have currently. you can make an argument that Branded or Tier can put up more insane boards, but those are nowhere near as consistent as the Spright in board. Like the Spright in board is like, you reach the Spright in board of like Elf, Carrot or Red, Melfi of the Forest, Caddy, an IP, and either a Double Cross or a Jet, or not Jet, Smashers, sorry, like 75% of the games. You go first. Like, it's ridiculous how consistent it is in the current iteration of the deck. So hitting a card like Jet, which you don't need to see this in your opening hand, but seeing something like this really, really helps because it means you don't have to summon it or search it off blue. Just makes the deck overall less consistent, and I'm kind of here for that. I didn't want them to hit Elf. Now that might be an unpopular opinion as well. I would like to see Spright Elf stay at least at 1, because I think this is a very cool card. I think it adds a lot of unique ability, like unique synergy with other decks outside of just Spright and Tearlaments and stuff like that. So I think hitting this does hurt other decks, and I understand that that might be an unpopular opinion, but I do like the ability to play this in just random decks that are able to use level 2 monsters. I like being able to play it in Adamantipator. I like being able to play it in different runic variations, even if you're not playing the Spright stuff, you know, so on and so forth. But that's neither here nor there. They probably didn't hit this because it's a UR, not because it's a broken card, because it is a broken card. Like, this card's absolutely insane, and I think it should be at 1. I don't think it should be at 3. But, you know, anyways, well, putting it at 1 might be problematic too, but that's another video for another day. Anyways, the Spright Jet hit is clearly for consistency, and I'm fine with it because the deck is incredibly consistent going first. It's really consistent going second too, as long as you're able to, you know, somewhat, you know, stifle your opponent's turn 1 play. So if you're able to interrupt him with a Shifter, a Bestial, you know, a Max C, an Ash Blossom, Imperm, whatever it is you're playing, just enough to like make their board breakable, or open a board breaker like Dark Ruler No More or Evenly Matched, then you're really going to be putting in a lot of work, because 2 level 2 monsters is just combo, right? Building on the consistency issues with Spright, the consistent hits with Spright, they semi-limited Swap Frog as well. So I personally like this way more than banning Rodentonen, which is the path they went in the TCG. They just decided to ban Ronin. They kept Frog, they kept Toad, and they banned Ronin. To be honest, I don't even know what they did in OCG. What do they even have? Like, okay, that's at 3 in the OCG. Swap is at 3 in the OCG. I was literally just looking at that. And what's Toad at? Toad's banned in the OCG. So they're kind of like taking like a similar approach here. They're trying to they're hitting more stuff just the Sprites, because all the Sprites are limited to 1. Well, Blue, Jet, and Starter are all limited to 1, and Elf is banned in OCG. So they're taking a slightly different approach here and hitting the swap as well, which I'm cool with, because, you know, it makes the deck not unplayable, but it hurts the consistency of it, like almost the same way that hitting Jet down to 1 does. So I'm all here for it. I think marginally hitting these decks, like in order to get them down in power level to keep them meta relevant, is fine with me. A lot of people disagree with that. A lot of people want to just like kill Branded, kill Tier, kill Spright, kill all this stuff. I don't subscribe to that philosophy, but I understand like why someone might. But anyways, now I'm rambling about my Banlist philosophy. Moving on to cards to be limited. We got Impant going from 3 to 1, and as a Flunderies hater, I am so happy that this got hit. Not that it actually does anything really to the deck, because it doesn't do that much to the deck, but it makes me happy just to see the birds get sniped out of the sky. I do not like this deck at all. I think it's incredibly toxic. I think it's very degenerate. But, you know, anyways, that's just my philosophy. This going down from 3 to 1, what is that? Like, why did this get hit? This got hit because, for those of you who play on ladder pretty frequently and are playing this season, this is the first season in a long time that I've done like a legitimate, like full, you know, ladder grind, like working all the way up through the ranks. I haven't done that in a very long time because I've just kind of been like bored of ladder. But I think the meta is really fun right now, so I've been playing a lot more. This is everywhere. Like at the high ranks of Diamond, in the low to medium ranks of Master, which is, I'm at like Master 3 right now. Like, this is everywhere. You play a Flunder like once every like 3 or 4 games at least. Sometimes you play it more than that. You know, for a while I played like 3 or 4 of these in a row, and I was like, what the hell's happening? Why is there so many birds? Like, this deck is not like why are people playing this so much? It's incredibly popular on ladder, and that's, I think, more than anything the reason this got hit is because Konami is sick of seeing the same decks on ladder. They want to see more diversity without killing stuff. And I'm cool with that philosophy. Like, I don't think this is going to do anything. Like, people are still going to play this deck like crazy, because one impin doesn't really change that much. It will change stuff if it gets milled. Like, if it gets milled by tier, like using the millers, they're going to have to use Stree plus Toucan to get it back, and that can be a little awkward sometimes. Especially if they're able to like interrupt you with like a Veiler or a Sulliek or something like that. Like, just getting to this card is going to be way less consistent, which I'm cool with, I'm good with it. I think that's great, but it's not impossible for them to get to it, and it's also not impossible for them to get it back if it gets milled or something like that. Now, when Cashier comes out, they banish one of these things face down, that's going to suck. Not for me, like for the Flute players, because I'm not playing this crap. I also probably, well, I mean, Cashier is going to be its own mess anyways. But I'm cool with this. It's not going to do anything, but I'm cool with it. Then we got Eradicator going from 3 to 1. This is obviously for Labyrinth, even though it doesn't actually hit Labyrinth because the deck only plays 1 anyways. I don't know why they hit this. I think they just hit this to like give us the perception that, hey guys, we hit Labyrinth because we know that deck's not going to be fun to play against on ladder. So like, guys, we hit it. Don't worry. Like, we got you. But they really don't got us, right? Because this actually isn't going to like do anything, because this is searchable in the deck. That's my philosophy with it, but we'll see. I'm not going to spend any more time talking about this because it's a useless hit. Then finally we got Sulliek going from 3 to 1. This is pretty much primarily being played at 2. Some people were kind of weird in playing 3, but it was primarily being played at 2, obviously. And this actually does a lot more than I think people are giving it credit for. I don't think this is a comparable nerf to like what Spright got, but I think consistency-wise, Tier is worse than Spright, and it's not even close. Tier is not the most consistent deck in the world. It was in like TCG and OCG when everything was unlimited, but in this game, having 2 of all the girls and having 1 field spell and like the Shizus being like really like hit pretty hard means that like you don't always open multiple like ways to play. Like, I've been playing a lot of Tier on ladder recently. I've been playing a lot of different variations, like pure Tier, Tier Spright, Tier branded Tier, like a bunch of different stuff. And if you open like a Rhino or a Murley or a Sharon and nothing else, you have 1 play. And if that gets stopped, then your turn is just over. And it's really hard to see hands that open like Rhino, Sharon, another Tier name. Like, that's not the most common hand to see. So hitting something like Sulliek means that your Foolish Goods is worse, because you're going to be sending your 1 Sulliek. You are going to be getting a search off it, so it is a consistency card still, but you're going to be like using your 1 Sulliek, so you're going to have to play Heartbeat. Heartbeat's going to be a mandatory card now, which a lot of people were already playing it, and me included, but now it's going to be like a mandatory card to take the Sulliek's place. But you're also probably going to have to play a 3rd trap, and that's probably going to be Meta Noise, which has its upsides, but also has its downsides, because setting a monster face down is nowhere near as good as like negating something permanently, at least in the current format. It can be very good against stuff like Spright or like Cashier when it comes out, but it's nowhere near as like good overall as Sulliek is. So not only does it hurt the consistency of the deck, but it hurts the power of the inboard, considering like the chances of milling this. Like, if you mill your 1 of Sulliek and you don't see your Heartbeat, your inboard is like substantially weaker. Yeah, you can still set up a Crime and maybe a Meta Noise or something like that, and it can still be like very, very good, but this was a huge part of the inboard. And not having this anymore like as consistently is going to make a difference. You might not like think it's going to make too much of a difference. You might not like see it in like a single game. Like on ladder, they might just open the nuts against you, you know, and open like, you know, Rhino, Murley, Sharon or something like that, and you're just like, all right, like what the hell, and just get cooked. You know, you might have an Ash Blossom for their Rhino, and they might just, you know, Sharon dump Murley and just like cook you. That can happen still. It still will happen a lot, and I can't wait to do that to people because I think this deck's a lot of fun. But over the course of like 100 games with Tier, you're going to see the consistency like issues that start to arise with Solic being on 1. So for any of you who like dislikes tier, which I know is a lot of people, this is actually a hit. Now, was it the hit that probably should have happened? No, probably not. Like, if you actually were legitimately going to hit this deck, Rhino should probably gone to 2 for like legitimate consistency hits. Havness probably should be at 1. I'm fine with the other girls being at 2, at least right now, because I don't think the deck is like that much better than everything else. I think it's a tier 1 deck, and I think Spright's up there with it. I think some runic variations might be up there with it, and I think Branded might be up there with it. Same thing with Dragon Link, but I think Tier and Spright are like clearly the best 2 decks, and there's other things that are like competing. But if you were truly going to hit the deck, I think this price, like Rhino probably should have got hit, which is not going to because you are. Havness probably should be at 1 because this card is like busted. And you know, definitely Kelbeck. Like, this card should definitely be at 1. But anyways, that is enough about my rambling about Tier. I hope all that made sense. And hopefully my logic like somewhat made sense with this. I promise you, those of you who dislike Tier, you are actually going to see this deck like work less frequently than it currently does. It's gonna make their mills more inconsistent. It's gonna make their opening hands less consistent because it forces them down like specific avenues, like a lot more frequently because only having the 1 Solic. It is gonna make a difference. But not as much as people probably would have liked. But you know, I'm cool with it because if on a future ban list we see like Havness get hit or something like that, you know, if we see Havness get hit, if we get Rhino get down to 2 or something like that, like all of a sudden we're looking at this deck and being like, okay, this is a tier 2 deck. You know, it's got the ceiling of like a tier 1, tier 0 deck, but it doesn't have like the consistency of it. That, at least, that's where I'm at with it, but I could very well be wrong. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. That is going to do it for me. Let me know down below in the comment section like how bad you think this ban list is or how good it is. Like overall, I don't hate it. I know a lot of people hate it. That's probably a very unpopular opinion, but I like the consistency hits to Spright. I like the pseudo consistency hit to Tier. This is definitely a consistent hit. It's not like probably the one we needed, but it is something at least. They're trying something, and it's also a rare, which is not like surprising that they hit it. I like to hit the flu. This is useless. I don't love this, but I understand it, and like this is whatever. So another thing I'll say before, I've been rambling a lot, but another thing I'll say before like I end the video like officially is the meta, in my opinion, is in a very good place. There's a lot of decks that are a lot of fun to play. There's a lot of decks that can compete. So them coming in here and just like wiping Tier off the face of the earth or wiping Spright off the face of the earth would have seemed unnecessary, given the fact that the meta is like not only Spright and Tier, you know? So them just like hurting these decks is cool with me because I want to still be able to play these decks. I want to still be able to like play against these decks because they can be fun to play with and against sometimes. Not Spright. Spright's never fun to play against. But anyways, yeah, that's the last thing I'll say. Let me know in the comment section down below how much you disagree with me. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.